So halftime is over. We're back. So hopefully we talked about a playbook. So you've had a chance to put a playbook together, at least consider it, think about it, or you're focusing anyway on first downs and scoring because those are important. But I also want to touch on penalties one last time because penalties can be a real issue. I don't know if you've ever heard of somebody, or hopefully you never said it yourself or thought about it, but a spouse will look at another spouse and say, "I hate you right now." Man, those are hard words to say out loud and hard words to hear. But where do those feelings come from? Well, from different areas. But one area is penalties. And that's why we talk about communication. Let me reinforce that with a reading out of a daily devotional called From Seasons of the Heart, written by a Jesuit priest, John Powell, decades ago. And I don't remember what day of the week this is, but when I read it, I thought, man, that could be my ex-wife. It could be a lot of people. So let me read it to you because it reinforces the part about communication, which is such a big deal. It goes like this. It says, "If I tell you that something that you do typically bothers me, I worry that it may seem divisive. So I just keep it to myself." See, that's what you can't do. That's where this communication is so important. "But while I keep it inside, my stomach keeps score. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 10, 15. Until one day you do it, and all hell breaks loose. And what I thought was being noble on my part was all the while keeping score. And somewhere I was secretly learning to hate you." I used to hear my wife crying in the bathroom with the door closed, and I thought, man, she's having a bad day. I was probably her bad day. That's where those small penalties will add up and become ultimately big penalties. So, kind of keep that in mind. And the whole thing with communication is, whether anyone believes it or not, men and women, we do communicate differently. We are kind of a different breed. And I'll have a little fun with a football analogy. And I know not all men are the same and not all women are the same. So bear with me. Well, let's say there's a football game and the coach is a guy and the wide receiver is running a play and he runs the wrong route, completely off the play. And the quarterback goes to throw the ball. He's not there. Everyone in the stands knows he ran the wrong route. The coach knows. The player knows. So the coach calls him over. Come here, get over here. How many times have you seen on TV where the coach will grab his face mask and he'll look at him and he'll be shaking it, players' heads down, and coaches grunting and barking orders at him, and guys looking down, and eventually the coach smacks him on the rear end and off he goes. They both totally understood that. We communicate that way sometimes. It's totally fine. We get it. Let's just say, for instance, it was a female coach. And again, I know not all are the same, but perhaps she would have the playbook with her. Because, most of the time women typically read more than guys, and that's okay. That's actually a good thing. We guys should probably certainly read more. So she'll have the playbook with her. Same thing happens. Guy runs the wrong route. Everybody knows it. Quarterback goes to throw the ball. He's not there. So she'll call him over. Get over here. She won't do the face mask thing. She might do this. Come here. That play we just ran is on page 27 of the playbook. Why don't you read it? What's that player going to do? She's going to take that playbook. I don't need no stinking playbook. I don't need to read anything. I know what I did wrong. My wife tried to get me to read a book one time, more than one time actually, a marriage book. And she'd leave it on my desk with a cute little note, and I'd push it aside and think, I need to get to that one day. Push it aside. I need to get to that one day. I did get to it one day, but it was too late. I was already divorced. You see, men and women, we do communicate differently. You guys tend to be more subtle. We're more visual, and, we don't always get subtlety. You might say, it was a marriage book, for crying out loud. That's not necessarily subtle. That should have been obvious. And you're right, in hindsight, it totally is. But let me give you ladies a piece of information that you probably already know by now. A lot of times men, and maybe I'll speak for myself, we can be blind to the obvious. You know, what seems normal and obvious stuff goes right past us. We can totally be blind to the obvious. So sometimes you gotta work with us understanding that. I'm not saying we're right or wrong and you guys are, it's just kind of the way we are. So you need to sometimes get our attention more visually than just a little subtlety. So here's a technique that might work. The next time, ladies, you want your husband to read a book, a magazine, something off the internet, put a fake cover on it. We talked about a fake cover with using your own handwriting and don't, make it fancy. There's certainly something more impactful about your own handwriting. So put a fake cover on a book. Husbands, you look at this, it's called I Dare You by Vince Lombardi. Vince Lombardi is an old football pioneer, you don't have to know him. And you don't even have to know football. And ladies, if you don't know anything about football, just write the football book by the football dude. And gentlemen, when you get home, you're like, what's going on with this crazy book? And find out. I Dare You is actually The Love Dare by Kendrick, actually a pretty good book. One more example would be this book titled X's and O's by John Madden, which it's really not X's and O's by John Madden. It's Love and Respect by Dr. Emerson Eggerichs. There are actually a lot of really smart people out there on marriage. I just don't happen to be one of them. Again, so gentlemen, when you get home, you see this fake cover, go to your wife. It's just her trying to get your attention. And don't worry about the size of it. I'm sure there's just a chapter, a couple paragraphs you want you to read. But it opens a communication and talk to her about what she's trying to get you to understand. Along the same lines as visual, that first event that I did, I actually brought some footballs I had printed up. It says Agape football on them. And I wanted to pass them out because again, we're visual. I wanted them, all the couples to leave with a football so they could throw it at home and say, hey, honey, go for a first down. Again, just as a reminder. And they're specifically two-toned, just to remind everybody that like a marriage, a football is 2 equal halves. And if both halves aren't intact, not even Tom Brady can get this to do what it was designed to do. Your marriage is 2 equal halves. Your marriage won't be the same. It won't be if both partners aren't equally engaged. Your marriage will not do what it was designed to do. Think of a football team. What if there's a game going on and half the team could care less? Half the team isn't engaged. What do you think the end result of that football game would be? Same with a marriage. If half the team isn't engaged, not good things to happen. And so again, I had the footballs, again, perfectly two-tone. And I went on to tell the ladies in particular, hey, if the books didn't get his attention and your heart still feels ripped and torn, take the football and rip and tear it and put it on his nightstand. Put it on his pillow. And gentlemen, if you get home one night and your football that you were throwing around or was sitting around is all of a sudden ripped in half and laying on your pillow, please go to your wife. She's obviously trying to get your attention. And I went on to tell that group, hey, maybe you like football and you don't want to wreck the football. I said, tear the football, get his attention, tear the football, get his attention. If you want another football, just reach out to me and I'll get you one, because you might think, I like the little football. No worries, reach out to me. I'll get you another football. And when I started the first video, I mentioned something profound happened that evening. And here's what happened. A young lady came down to the front. There are maybe 15 or 20 couples there that night, and a handful by themselves without their spouse. This young lady was by herself without her husband, and she came down to the front and she had tears in her eyes. And she looked at me and she said, I might need 10 footballs. Whew. We all know what she meant by that. Her husband's completely detached, completely disconnected from the marriage, disengaged. And I didn't know what to tell her. I gave her a hug and I said, hey, we're giving away some footballs. Take all that we have left. Literally take all that we have left. Because remember, I wasn't going to do this again anyway. My prayer for her and certainly her husband, and guys like me, guys that are disconnected sometimes, comes from Ezekiel 36:26. It says this, I will give you a new heart and put a new spirit in you. I will remove from you your heart of stone and give you a heart of flesh. A heart of stone is hard-hearted, can't learn. A heart of flesh is pliable, able to learn new things. So there is hope for that hard-hearted person in your life. So you're watching your favorite team. They have a game going on. How many times have you looked at the game and you're like, why do you run a play that never works? Right? Because you see your team and they run a play and it never works. And they do it over and over again. And you're screaming at the TV, why do you run that play? It never works. Are you doing something in your marriage that perhaps never works and you keep doing it? Gentlemen, husbands, be the Peyton Manning of your team and call an audible. Ladies, call an audible. What is an audible, you ask? Let me answer that question. Let me get my chart out here again. My famous flip chart from earlier. Let's see, let's put it somewhere right around there. So, what is an audible? In regular football, it is defined as an adjustment made at the line of scrimmage by the quarterback. And you football guys out there, we know that defense can call audibles too, but we're all about offense and scoring. In Agape football, what is an audible? Adjustment made anytime by either spouse. So if something's not working in your marriage, call an audible. Find something that does work. Peyton Manning was famous for using the phrase Omaha, Omaha to call out an audible. You can do that. Or you can do coconut, coconut, or ladybug, ladybug. You know, holler across to your spouse, hey, honey, that's not working. Ladybug, ladybug. Call an audible. Find something that works. Because what do teams do at halftime? They make adjustments. That's what halftime's all about, is making adjustments. And the team that makes the better adjustments typically has the better second half and typically will win. What about adjustments in your marriage? Well, there is no halftime, but there's time to make adjustments when you have to. Because what comes after halftime? The proverbial 2-minute warning. And if you're behind in a 2-minute warning in a football game, things are kind of bleak. If you're behind in your marriage or your marriage is in the 2-minute warning, things are kind of bleak. Now, that's not to say, 2-minute warnings, teams sometimes score and win. You look at them when they score and you're like, dudes, where have you been for 4 quarters? Or the husband that gets divorce papers and he's shocked. And he's like, I got divorce papers. Dude, where have you been the whole marriage? And he comes out with flowers and chocolates and candies and I don't know, maybe too late for that. Maybe not. I hope if you're in a marriage and it's in the 2-minute warning, you get into overtime, double overtime, triple overtime, and you pull that marriage out. But generally, especially with football teams, when you're behind in the 2-minute warning, the next thing is game over. Game over. What do teams do the next day? Say it's the pros and they play on Sunday. What do they do Monday morning? They pop in the proverbial game tape. They pop in the proverbial game tape and watch that game. Win or lose, they watch the game. And they'll look up on the big screen and say, oh man, I missed that tackle. Oh, look at that, what a great catch that was. Blah, blah, blah. They watch the whole game. What if you put in your marriage tape right now? What if you popped in your marriage tape and looked back at your marriage? Looked up on the big screen, what would you see? Would you see, oh, honey, look at us, what a cute couple we are. Oh, I love you. Oh, look at how much you're laughing, honey. Or would you look up there and say, ooh, probably shouldn't have said that. Ooh, honey, you're crying an awful lot. Ooh, probably shouldn't have done that. I watched my marriage tape 1,000 times, but it was already game over. Don't wait till it's game over to look at your marriage tape and see what changes need to be made. Fumbles. How many times have you seen a running back and he fumbles the ball, other team recovers it, he comes to the sideline, he's all dejected, he knows he did wrong, he's just beside himself because he let his teammates down. But what do his teammates do? They pat him on the back. Hey man, it's okay, don't worry, dude, we got your back. We'll get the ball back, we're a team, we need you in the game, we need your head in the game. We're good. What do you do when your spouse fumbles? When your spouse makes a mistake? Is it, hey, honey, no worries, I got your back, we're good, don't worry, it was no big deal, we're good with this. I need you in the game, I need you part of the team. Or is it more like, oh, honey, how many times do I have to tell you not to do those stupid things? You have your spouse's back. What about timeouts? Got to have timeouts. Football teams have timeouts. You need timeouts. Timeouts are a good thing. You need a break. But then the timeouts end, and it's time to get back in the game. And sometimes you'll watch a football game, and the timeout's over, and the coach is like, all right, boys, back in the game. And they're hobbling, they're physically hurt, they're mentally drained, but they go back into the game for the team. Sometimes you're going to have to play mentally and emotionally hurt. That doesn't mean emotional abuse or physical abuse. It just means you're sometimes like, I don't feel like playing, because the timeouts end too in your marriage. You need a timeout in your marriage, but you need to get back engaged in the marriage. Not even your kids are in timeout forever. Get back engaged in the marriage. So if you're in the mood, you're not in the mood, and you're like, I don't feel like playing right now. Come on, I need you on the team. What if you disagree? Oh my God. Well, that'll certainly happen, because you're in a marriage and you're in a relationship. But the good news is you got a great coach and a great referee. And we talked about the playbook, and we had a playbook. Hopefully you put one together, but it's a good book where you'll get your answers for life as well as your marriage. There's a great life lesson in the Bible. A great verse comes from Psalms 143:10. It's simple. It says, teach me to do your will, for you are my God. May your good spirit lead me on level ground. So as we start to wrap up, we want you to have fun with this. Remember, it's love and a game. And speak of having fun, football players only get to play once a week. You get to play Agape football 7 days a week. Football players have to wear helmets, shoulder pads, and cleats. For Agape football, no helmet, no shoulder pads, and no cleats required. Hey, as a matter of fact, to play Agape football, you don't have to wear anything at all. Defense, we talked about defense. You're going to have to defend against simple things like hobbies, careers, old age, boredom. You have to defend against obstacles to your marriage, both individually and as a team. And then have fun with this. Learn some lingo, call some Agape football plays. Let me teach you a couple plays if you don't know football. You'll notice I still don't have a sketch artist. You're gonna have to put up with my little left-handed caricatures, because I don't think I'm gonna have it. So here's some plays to learn. In football, there's a play called the sack. That's when the quarterback's running around, the defense tackles him, he is sacked. There is your quarterback on his back. There's a sack play in Agape football. Ladies, you're in the kitchen fixing dinner with your husband. You're looking around, the trash is kind of piled up. Hey, honey, go for a sack play. There's another sack play in Agape football. Let's say, ladies, even better, you're finished with dinner. You're feeling a little frisky. Hey, honey, want to jump in the sack play. There's another play in football called the sweep. That's where half the team runs around one side of the field. There's a sweep play in Agape football as well. Ladies, you're back in the kitchen fixing dinner with that awesome husband of yours. You're looking around, the floor's a little crummy, the broom's over there in the closet. Hey, honey, go for a sweep. Sweep play in Agape football. I don't really have a good analogy for the flea flicker. Perhaps you'll have to get the family pet involved in that particular play. So I'll end with a betting tip. Vegas likes to put odds on which team's going to win, visitors, who's hurt, blah, blah, blah. In Agape football, the home team always wins. Now, for those of you that stuck around for the whole game, both halves, let's say, I'm going to give away some footballs. I have up to 100 footballs I'm going to give away. No gimmicks, I'm paying for the shipping and everything. I'm going to put an email address up here in a minute, and you can send me an email if you're interested. Hopefully your marriages are fine. You just watched this because it was a little quirky, which it is. But But if you want a football, shoot me an email. If you're kind of in a bad spot like that lady in South Carolina and you really think a football, for what it's worth, might be worth something, put in the subject line, I might need 10 footballs. Now you won't get 10, but you'll get my attention. And whoever's getting a football, I'll reply back to you with an email. If you don't get one from me, run to a store and buy one and scribble Agape football if you think it's important. Again, it's just a visual. It's just a visual. It's not, that obviously big of a deal. And this isn't about, likes and follows. I told you can't follow me. I'm nowhere to be found. My dog doesn't even follow me. I guess you could follow me if you were behind me on I-95, but that's about it. Likes are nice. I appreciate those. But here's a better solution. How about this? Like your spouse, follow Jesus. Much better choices than worrying about my pitiful life. So hopefully this homegrown video and homegrown concept had a little bit of value to you, to your marriage. If not, apologize for wasting your time. But we're all in this crazy thing called life. We all have a role to play. Galatians 4 reminds us to carry each other's burdens. So I don't know, maybe that's part of this. So anyway, if you want to reach out to me, if you're interested in a football, send an email to agapefootball@yahoo.com. And hopefully, depending when you're watching this, I'll be able to accommodate you with football. Otherwise, God bless. Hope your marriages are fabulous. Take care and bye.